come into just a seated position and place your foam roller or your rolled up thing right underneath one of your legs. So I have mine under my right leg, just in front of my rear. So right under that hamstring. And then what you're going to do is you either pushing off with your hands or just leaning forward, lean into that roller and just sit with as much of your weight on it as you possibly can. Oh yeah.
Don't hurt yourself, Afton.
Oh yeah. So while we do this, we want mild discomfort, not pain. So if you feel like you're going to yell, kind of put a little bit more weight onto either your foot or your hands, and then you can kind of just roll forward. You can come just to your glutes and then roll backwards onto the bottom just below, wow. Just before you get to your like knee pit, that bend in your knee, and you can just go back and forth on that hamstring. And we'll just do this for about 20 seconds per leg. Mine is not rolling so well, so I'm going to switch to my can of corn. Dave, if you're having any issues with your towel, then
No.
Is it working well for you?
Not good enough.
Okay. Okay, and while we do this, your hamstring is actually a group of muscles. So if you shift your weight, so tilt a little bit to the left and roll so that you get the inside of that leg. And then you can do the same thing, tilt a little bit to the right, to the outside, and roll up and down in that motion. And then we'll switch legs, give that leg a little bit of a break, and we'll come back to it. So place it right under your hamstring on the other leg, and you can just roll. Uh-oh. Did Gwen turn off my camera? There I am. Gwen, you're muted. I don't know what you're saying.
It's like, I think I did, but I have no idea how or why it did that. Really weird.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Just roll back and forth. Make sure you test out that twisting motion. Feel that roller hit all the muscles and all the sides of those muscles. Excellent. And then I'm thinking, just for time's sake, we're going to just do one set per muscle. So we'll move on to our calves for this next one. So calves can be a little tricky just because of the weight shift. So if you are comfortable, then you can sit just like we were, but instead of placing that roller or that object under your hamstring, place it just below your knee, underneath your leg. And then we can do this a similar thing where you push off with your hands, maybe a little bit with that opposite foot, or you can hover that foot if you're able, and you can roll back and forth. If that is not working for you, just strengthen your wrists, any sorts of pain, then you can take that roller and push it up and down that calf. Another thing that you can do, it's a little tough, but if you have a larger roller, you can squeeze it between your leg bent like this, and then just manually push it down. It's not going to work with this can, it's too small, but it is another option. So the same thing with this, your calf has a lot of muscles in it. You can roll from one side to the other. And as you're rolling, notice if there are any spots that you feel a little bit more discomfort than the rest. And if you find one of those spots, come back to it and just stay there. And put as much weight as you can handle without screaming or biting your tongue or whatever it is. And just push into that spot. So we'll do about 5 more seconds on this leg. Are either of you finding any of those spots?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I always find them on my calf. It's a lovely but unpleasant experience, isn't it? Yep, we can just roll this calf out. Okay. Oh, Dave's getting a good stretch in there. Alrighty. So you can keep working on that calf. The next muscle that we're going to move to is our quad. So our quad, again, is going to be a group of muscles, so we're going to use a similar motion to what we just did, where we put that pressure on and then lean our weight from one side to the other. So with the quad, if you're able to flip over and put that can, so when I kneel on the ground, I put the roller right up against my knee, right in front of it. And then I lean forward and put my weight onto it. And then you can roll from your knee up to your hip. Oh, watch out. If you're losing balance, then try to either get a wider stance with your hands or put that other leg down on the ground. And if you ever don't want to get down on the floor for this one's a really great time to have a rolling pin or a smaller object, and you can just push down on the top of it with your hands and push that roller gently, well, not so gently because you're putting all your weight into it, down your leg. Oh, are you doing all right down on the floor?
Yeah.
You disappeared from my view, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this works just the same. If you are seated and doing the roller on the top, then you will manually have to move it from side to side with your hand. So with my can, I was right on the top of my leg going straight up and down. Then I just moved it slightly to the inside. And then instead of leaning right down, I switch my body and just push opposite. So if I'm doing the left leg, I'm kind of leaning my torso to the right so I can push into that muscle. And then you can switch to the other side when you think you're good on that side. Usually it'll go about 20 to 30 seconds per muscle per leg. And then you can do that 2, 3, 4 times until that tension is gone. Afton, feeling good?
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely.
Dave, you doing all right? Oh, we lost Dave. Dave, are you good? Maybe. Okay. Well, Dave, if you are there, we're going to switch muscles. So that is the majority of what you can do with the roller on the lower body. You can also do the IT band, which is this really long tendon that goes up the side of your leg just by laying on the side here and then rolling. This one you have to be careful because it can tighten it a little bit more. So I usually avoid that one with the roller and just opt for a little bit of massage there so that we don't put too much tension or pressure on that band. Yeah, exactly. Afton felt it.
Yeah, that's the one that I usually will scream at. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I opt for self-massage on that just because it can be too much pressure for that tendon. And it can do opposite things from what we want it to do, so we just, whoop, no. So on our upper body, foam rolling is best for these muscles on our sides, so our lats, our infraspinatus, all of these muscles that help us, move our arms like wings that we do all the time, especially in programs like Stay Home, Stay Fit. So to do that, again, we're going to be on the ground if you're able, and then you can either start with the roller held up, or you can put the roller down, set your arm in front of the roller, and then lower yourself down onto it. And so you want the side of your body just under your armpit to be making contact with that roller. And then the same idea where you roll up and back. This one I use my legs to push me. If you want to get more of that weight, you can come into a side plank type stance and then move your hips up and back. Or you can just lay there.
Then you get the ab exercise along with the stretch.
Exactly. Everyone thinks recovery is just this easy thing, but no. It is a workout in itself. especially we'll talk a little bit about active stretching in a minute. That I did a whole workout of it with our Dragon Bada program on Tuesday, and I was more sore after that program than any of the others. And we can switch to the other side, get that other lat nice and loved. We'll call it that. Not tortured, loved. And you can just roll back and forth on that one. This one can be really good if it's difficult to be that close to the ground. Even if you have a foam roller or that towel, you can wrap more towels around it just to kind of raise it up so you can be in less of a reclined position. From a seated position, this is going to be a little bit difficult, but I would recommend grabbing something round like a can and just pushing into your side and just pulling up and down on that. And so because it still has this round surface, you're going to still feel that same feeling. The towel might be a little difficult just because it is squishy and it relies on that compression to get deep into there. But if you have a hard object like a can or a ball, then you can feel that right up the side there. Okay, so another foam rolling exercise, and this will be super, super similar. So it'll be for our triceps and like just this middle part between our triceps and our biceps on the outside of our arm. So same idea, start with the roller on the ground. And then instead of reaching over it, we're going to put our hand to our side and then lean into our roller. And then just let that arm rest there. And use your upper body. Like Dave said, we're kind of going to get a little bit of a side crunch motion here as you roll that arm up and down along that roller. If this is too intense, that's totally okay. It is a lot of weight on a small muscle, so be careful how much body weight you trust into it. All right. So as you do that one, I'm going to talk about our back and shoulders. This is my favorite thing to foam roll, just because my back gets really, really tight. But we're going to sit up kind of in a V position. I have my knees bent and then my torso just straight up. Place your foam roller right behind you, maybe 6 inches from your back or your seat. And then you can lean back into it, centering your spine on your roller. So the reason that we have it about 6 inches to a foot behind you is we don't want to have the foam roller anywhere that our ribs are not, because our ribs will help to support your spine. And so as you roll, don't go any further than the small of your back. Just go from the middle of your back and then roll forward using your legs up to your shoulders. If you are having trouble pulling yourself forward, you can put your hands out to the side and pull. So I have my hands flat on the ground, and then I kind of grip into whatever floor it is, just using the friction, and pull so that my elbows are getting closer to my ears, and you can roll that way. The other way to do it is to place it down in different areas. So start at a foot, move it maybe 6 inches, lean back again, move 6 inches again, and lean back. Or you can do it in a hard-backed chair or against a wall, where you could stand up against a wall or sit up against a wall. Place that roller right behind you, trap it between the wall and your back, and then kind of just raise and lower your hips, or move that roller manually up and down the wall, just leaning into it.
Afton, how's it going since we can't see you down there?
It's good.
It's good.
I saw her head kind of bob, and I was behind.
Yeah. Dave, you looks like you're doing an alternate stretch. Was that not working for you?
Yeah, the towel kind of folds and whatever. So we got a roller upstairs. I'll do some of these later.
Okay.
Okay.
And you understand how she's explaining it?
Yeah.
You can do it on your own. Awesome.
And once you get up to your shoulder area, that's another good space. So probably the top 6 to 8 inches of your back, just below your shoulder blades up to about your neck area. That's a good time to just roll back and forth like we did with our legs, where you just shift your weight and you can get a little bit more pressure into those individual muscles like your rhomboids and your traps and all of those wonderful things that we work all of the time. So I see that we are getting close. I hope you've enjoyed the myofascial release portion of this. I'm going to quickly go through some stretching techniques. So Dave looks like he is doing a great job on his own of static stretching. So static stretching is that typical thing that you see done, like when you watch a track meet and all the runners are, doing this kind of thing, where you come into a position and you hold it for 15 to 30 seconds. So those stretches, if you want to look more into static stretching, I recommend YouTube or any PT journal online. You can look up PT website stretching, and there are a million static stretches where you'll just come into that position, and I will go over it a little bit. You'll come into a position. Anytime that you do a stretch, you want your back to stay straight. So as I reach, I focus on engaging my core, which just means pulling that belly button into my spine, trying to flex those abs because I want my back to be straight. While you're stretching, you don't want to cause any more injury, right? So keep that spine nice and tight. You can lean from one side to the other. You can do all sorts of arm stretches. Across your chest is a really nice one for this tricep. You can do another tricep stretch over your head. You can reach out in front of you and just push. That's a little bit of an active stretch, so we'll talk about that. So you'll see all sorts of them where you just come into a position and hold it. Anytime that you feel yourself curling or bending in any sort of round position, with whether it be your arms, your legs, or your back, you're probably stretching a little bit too far. So just go to that point of mild discomfort. It's not about reaching as far as you can or reaching the ground or touching the ceiling or anything like that. It's all about finding where it's comfortable for you. So when you do static stretching, if you would like to increase your range of motion a little bit, that's where this stretch band comes in. And it's also used to create isometric stretches out of static stretches. So say we're doing a hamstring stretch, and I have my hamstring down on the ground, and I've been leaning forward, and I've done this stretch a million times. If you want to get a little bit of a different stretch, you can place this band around the arch of your foot and lean back into this stretch. When you do this, you lift that straight leg up into the air, and this allows your leg to stay straight, whereas you might bend it if you're on the floor. It just adds a little bit of extra resistance to your stretch. And so that's static stretching. Isometric stretching is very similar, where we're going to hold a position, but then rather than just staying in that position, we're going to apply some sort of force. So say we're stretching our hamstring like I just showed with that band around your ankle. I have my legs straight, right? So this is a fantastic stretch, but to work those muscles even a little bit harder and stretch a little bit deeper, I can push against that band and try to put that leg back down straight on the floor while I pull against it. And that just engages those leg muscles. So you can fight against your band or against yourself for, say, 10 to 15 seconds, and then relax for 5 seconds and breathe into it. And I don't know if you guys paid much attention to where my leg was the first time, but after I did that little contraction with my leg, I was able to release and stretch just a little bit deeper. And so what this does is just trains the spindle fibers, the fibers in your body that tell your muscles how long they're allowed to get. You train them, hey, I can get a little further than this. And so they'll release a little bit more and a little bit more. So the more you do those stretches, the more your muscles will learn their actual range of motion. So you can do that with your legs there. You can do another one with your calf really easily. If you put that band against your toes and pull back towards your face, and then while you're pulling, use those toes to push against that band for 10 to 15 seconds, and then relax and allow it to come just that little bit further into it. So you can do that either with the band or just with your hands. So say you're stretching your neck and you're just dropping your left ear, or this is my right ear to your right shoulder, and you place your right hand on top of your head, and you start to just gently pull on your head. You've maybe done this stretch in some of our programs. If you want to get a little deeper into that stretch, push down on your head like you normally would, and then fight against that motion with your head. Try to straighten your head up, increase that tension for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then relax. And you'll feel that stretch just get a little deeper. It's a little weird the first few times that you do it, but then it's like wonderful, and it's the only way I like to stretch. And are you guys okay? I am about 1 minute over on time. Do you have time to go through one more type of stretching? Excellent. Awesome. So the last type of stretching that I've covered in these programs is active stretching. And active stretching, it's also called reciprocal inhibition if you want to get fancy. It basically uses the natural relationship of your muscles. So you have one muscle that bends and one muscle that straightens. So flexors and extensors. So your biceps and triceps are a really good example of this. So I'll show you a quick active stretch for that. So the theory is, and it's not a theory, it's proven, but you hear me. When your bicep flexes, all of your nerves tell your tricep that it has to extend, that it cannot flex. So when you flex your bicep, you're stretching your tricep. So by flexing your bicep, so I want you guys to do this one with me so you can kind of feel it. So if you extend your arm above your head, and then bend your palm down like you're going to pat yourself on the back. So my palm is just resting on my shoulder. Then I'm going to squeeze my arm, trying to get it together as tight as I can. So I'm trying to just flex that bicep. And then, if you're feeling good there, try to push your elbow up toward the ceiling. And we're just going to hold this and just tighten that bicep as much as you possibly can. Hold it for 15 to 30 seconds. And then you can relax. When you relax, your bicep's going to feel a little jello-y, but your tricep's going to feel nice and stretched. So then it's really good to do the opposite stretch. So stick that same arm out in front of you, and I have my palm facing up and the back of my hand facing down. And what I'm going to do is just try to bring that back of my hand down toward the ground. I'm kind of pushing my elbow up toward the ceiling and just straightening that arm, tightening that tricep. If it's not feeling good in front of you, you can raise your arm up behind you like so. And you can just tighten that tricep, and then you'll feel that opposite thing where your tricep gets a little tight, but then your bicep has that nice stretch. So this is a really good gentle way to stretch. It doesn't feel gentle, it feels like a workout, and it is, because you're strengthening and stretching at the same time, but without using any bands or weights or any outside resistance. There's almost zero chance that you'll hurt yourself or hyperextend anything. So if you're feeling really, really tight, active stretching is a great way to start. You warm it all up, you get the blood flowing, and you're not going to hurt yourself. So those are our main types of stretching. Thank you for your patience and your extra time and for showing up today. I'm so glad that you're here and caring for yourselves.